Hi, I'm Therese, and welcome to the Caffeinated Cast Ons podcast. I'm on my second cold brew of the day. I'm almost done with this one, actually. So I should probably start drinking some water soon. But that's our caffeinated part of today. So it is November 1st. And so that brings on a new month of some knitting planning that I've done, kind of taken inventory of all my WIPs. So I'm going to be kind of reading and going through all of this today in my notebook. It's going to be like my little knitting journal. Last month was my first time to kind of really write everything down and set some goals and cross stuff off. And I feel like it really worked for me. It was really efficient, and I feel like I was really able to focus on certain projects and get a lot of my WIPs down. Last month I had 10 WIPs, I believe, and I got that down to about half because I did cast on a couple things. I only casted on one thing, and that's because me and some friends in my knit group, my local knit group that I co-run with a friend, we decided to start a beanie make-along. So that was the one thing that I cast on that wasn't already on my needles. Yeah, so let's start with finished objects. So last week I went over finished objects that I had done so far in October. Since then I've only finished one more object, and that was my Austin socks. These make me laugh, and I'll tell you why in a second, but this is actually, let me put these on some sock blockers so you can really see them. Hold on. Stand by. I got these sock blockers at McKinney Knittery, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have one similar to this online. I think they're just like a metal stainless steel type thing. So let me put both of these on there. And I guess technically these aren't truly finished since I have not woven in the ends or blocked them, but they're off the needle, so I'll count that as finished. So these are the Austin socks by Crazy Sock Lady. I don't remember whenever I cast these on. The first sock has been done for quite some time, but I finally finished the second sock. Last week I was just on the part of in the middle of the foot, and so I finished the rest of the foot and did the toe. Yeah. So I'll have the yarn that I used in more details on my project page linked down below. I'll have project pages for all the projects that I mentioned today. And so I just love how these turned out. Have my contrast heel through the heel turn and toe. And they look so cozy. And these are just for me. So I'm excited to wear these. And this pattern is just so good. They feel so soft and squishy. Not a complicated pattern at all, with the pattern repeats for the texture part. So I'm super excited about these. So they just need to be blocked now at this point. Funny story about the toe on these, and let me take them off the blockers so you can tell what I'm going to talk about. So this is the second time I've made this I don't know if I'd call it a mistake in the toe. Like, the socks are still fine, but I guess I just forgotten what I did since I finished the first sock so long ago. I didn't realize at what point I stopped decreasing and started the Kitchener. So on sock number 1 that I finished who knows how long ago, I stopped when I got to 16 stitches on each needle. I worked these magic loop, and so I had 16 stitches on my front needle, 16 stitches on my back needle, and then I did the Kitchener. On sock 2, I kept decreasing until I had 8 stitches on the first needle and 8 stitches on the back needle, which is what the pattern calls for, I might add. I don't know why I didn't follow that. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I know why I did not follow that on the first sock, because once I got to the 16 stitches on each needle on the first sock, and I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, I didn't finish reading the pattern. So that was oversight on my part. Not that the pattern was poorly written at all. It's an excellent written pattern. I highly recommend any of Crazy Sock Lady's sock patterns. They are so good. But the reason why my brain did that is why I stopped is because whenever I knit socks toe up, I don't start with 8 stitches on each needle. I do Judy's Magic Cast On, and I have 16 stitches on each needle, and then I increase to my total count. And so in my brain, when I was working this cuff down, I was like, oh, I'm at 16 stitches, time to finish her up. I didn't fully finish out the toe like I did in sock number 2. But I'm not too worried about it. These socks are just for me, so it's not going to make a difference in the wearability of the socks. So I'm not concerned about it. Yeah, so we're just going to roll with it. But that is the second time that I have done that with a pair of socks. I just have to remember to read that extra bit. And I guess I always could stop at 16 if that's what I'm used to. So yeah. We'll see. Next pattern that I follow, we'll see if I decide to stop at the 16 or just to finish, follow the instructions of the pattern. It's personal preference really at this point. Yeah, so that was just a fun little thing that I realized about the socks whenever I finished them. But I'm not going to go back and fix it. I was ready for these to be off the needle so I can actually, 1, just so they're cleared off the needles, and 2, so I can wear them because the weather is getting chilly here in Texas. We did have the past 2 days, we were under a freeze warning for a portion of the day. Yeah, so that was my finished object. Sorry, I'm over my cold. I'm just trying to get rid of this cough. My son is feeling better, so that's the good part, I guess. I'll take that. Okay. So let's talk about whips that I have going for November. So in my little knitting journal, I listed all the whips that I have going on right now, which is 2, 4, 6. But I'm kind of crossing, even though I'm crossing one of those off, not off my list because I still want to keep inventory of everything I have on my needles, but it's not going to be a focus for November necessarily. And I'll get to that once I get to that specific whip that I'm talking about. So we'll just start with the thing that I don't want to be, I'm sad that it's not done. Let's just say that. And that is my Scotch Broom top. This is just in a bag. It was in the Target dollar section. My friend Katrina found it and bought one because it was literally $1. And it's such a good project bag. Like it has this like expandable part that draws strings shut, and it has handles. And it's so good for holding projects. So she bought a ton and gave one to me, which is super nice. So thanks, Katrina. Yeah, so my Scotch Broom. In last week's episode, I accidentally dropped some stitches while I was showing this. I was able to pick them back up once I stopped recording, and it was fine. Nothing got ruined. Yeah, so originally I wanted to have this done by yesterday, and I just didn't. I ended up knitting more on a blanket, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But I'm like half upset and half not. Like I wanted to have it done back in September, and it didn't get done. So at this point, it's just at the pace that I want to knit it at. It is getting cold anyways, and this isn't necessarily a top that's going to keep me warm. So I'm just knitting whatever feels good right now. But yeah, but we're close to being done. Just a couple more inches to go, like maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches to go on the body before I do the hem. Yeah, and I don't have a progress keeper, so I'm not sure how much I've knit on it since last time. A couple rounds, maybe a few. So I need to put a progress keeper on that, and that's also more motivating for me to see exactly how much I'm doing, because I am getting a little discouraged on it just because it's been on the needles for a while and I'm ready to get it done. So I'll put a progress keeper on that after I finish recording today. That way I can really see my movement on that project. Okay. Whip number 2 are the socks that I'm knitting as a gift on 9-inch circulars. And they're in probably like my favorite project bag that I have. Excuse me, my favorite project bag that I have. I had it customized. It used to have my name on it, but it fell off. It broke off because I had shoved this in a carry-on because I travel with this bag, and it broke off and I was so sad. But I put all these buttons that I had on them. Let me back up. The bag is by, where is it? Skippy Lips. And you can customize the bag. I chose like the material, the color material that I wanted, and I opted to have the little customization nameplate. Yeah, but it fell off. So I threw on some buttons on there. Yeah, so I threw on some buttons on there, and this is a Mace of Skeins, Madeline Tosh, West 7th Wool, McKinney Knittery, and then a Summer Sock Camp pen. Okay, it is much later. I got super busy in the middle of filming yesterday. I had some work that I had to get done, and then I had to go help my mom out, and so I just had to put a pause on recording that, pause on recording yesterday. So it's November 2nd now, just the next day. Sorry, my dog. Anytime she hears anyone talking on the phone or the phone rings, she thinks it's for her, so she has to bring a toy and get ready to talk. So she is down there. But I have much more coffee now, big coffees of cold brew. I'm still out of coffee beans. I need to check when my next order is going to come. But I think where I left off was going over my whips. And so I'm going to pick that back up. Are you going to talk? Okay. So I think I left off with my 9-inch circulars, and let's see where we are at. So I need to get some more progress keepers that have the little lobster claw. I guess I could use a stitch marker. Anyways, I think last week we were right before the heel flap. So since then, I have finished the heel flap, the heel turn, and now I am on the gusset decreases. You can kind of see that close happening right there. And this is for sock 1. So you can really see the sock starting to take shape of the cuff and leg, and then the heel. And so now the foot is going to continue there. So I'm hoping this week I will finish the gusset decreases to get back to my original stitch count. Once I finish that on sock 1, then I will pick up sock 2, because this is ready for the heel as well. So I'll get the flap and gusset started here. And yeah, so that's kind of where I hope to end this week for those. And those are our 9-inch circulars. I will say the heel flap, definitely a little bit to get used to, very finicky since you are working with such a short circumference and you have to work the heel flap flat and then the heel turn, and then it does get a little crowded whenever you do pick up the gusset stitches, because you're picking up just all those additional stitches. And so yeah, it took a little bit to get used to. It was a lot easier than I thought to actually pick up the gusset stitches. I contemplated a few times. I'm like, maybe I'll just transfer this onto Magic Loop and just Magic Loop the whole thing. But then I didn't want to think about logistically how that would work, because I pictured it in my head and I don't know if it would have done well. And I don't particularly like to work with DPNs, and I don't have any DPNs that size for the needle. And so I was like, I'm just gonna power through. If anything, I can always rip it out. And part two, to if anything, it's learning something new, since I've never worked with 9-inch circulars before. So that is that whip. So the whip that is tallied for inventory purposes, I guess you could call it, but one I'm not putting as a priority for this month, are the 2 at a time socks I was working on. And I'm still in the same place as last time. I've only done the heel flap on one. Haven't touched it at all since, and these are just for myself, so I'm not too concerned about getting these done by a particular deadline. So once I finish those 9-inch circulars, then maybe I'll pick these back up. I don't see that happening until maybe the middle of the month. We'll see, because I have some other things that I want to get done, which I'll go over that here in a little bit. But yeah, so that's on the tally, but not necessarily on the schedule for this month, if that makes sense. Okay. And I have my Musselburgh, however you want to say it. Oh no. Okay. So I did make it to the halfway point on this beanie. That is where I wanted to end up at the end of October. The goal is to finish this by the end of November. That's the deadline me and my knit group have set for this make along that we're doing. You could either knit or crochet any beanie pattern that you wanted. It was just something fun, and it was going to last 2 months. So all of October, all of November. So it's about halfway. And I just love how this yarn is knitting up. I'll have all my project pages linked down below. I also did cover all of these in my kind of whip recap episode last week. I think that was it. Yeah. And this is just in an old Tom's shoe bag. So you don't have to have fancy project bags. You can just use whatever you have lying around. So good. My favorite cold brew is the, I think it's pronounced Stoke cold brew. I like the, I think it's the not too sweet one, and then I don't know, it's like an orangey bottle and then like a blue-green bottle. Both are delicious. They're so good. And I just throw in some almond coconut creamer in there. And that is my go-to. Okay. Next whip that we have going on. And this is my DK jelly blanket in my little yarn sheep yarn bowl. And this one I do have a progress keeper on. So let me get this all situated. So last week we were just here with my little corgi stitch marker. It's a tricolor like mine. So I just only added in 2 colors whenever I showed this last week, but since then I've added 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so this is all just scraps that I have in my stash. So sorry. I'm still trying to get rid of the cough from the cold that I got from my son. So let me try that again. So these are all just from what I have in my stash. Like you can see this clearly wasn't a lot. I don't remember the weight of how many grams I had left in this. A lot of these I still, this was self-striping, but since I held it double, it's not like clear stripes. But yeah, some of this stuff is like, I have larger balls in my stash still, and I'll just wind off like between 10, 20, 30 grams and just go until it runs out. Like this one, I think I wound off 20. That doesn't sound right. Maybe 30 grams. And then that's how much of a stripe that I got. And I still have, I think, 20 grams in a ball still. That I'll use because I really like the color. I'll use that for contrast in some other socks. And this is that icy lavender that I just showed in the Austin socks I had finished. So I will continue to keep adding yarn from my stash and other yarns that I acquire in this. And I just kind of roll it up because it can get a little finicky. Cute, huh? And then I just keep that in my bowl, and I'll show you how I'm going to store this once it does start to get larger. So those are all the main whips that I have going on right now. Let's talk about what I wanted to cast on this month, and I have a couple of notes on this in my little knitting journal. So I need to cast on another Musselburgh for my uncle. They requested one, so I'm going to make that as a gift. So I need to get that started kind of here soon. It was pretty chilly this week here in Texas. It's going to warm back up, but I'd like to get it done before it's consistently cold. That way they have it to wear it. And then I need to cast on another Musselburgh for my son. He has one beanie. It is a little big, just because I made it for later for him to grow into, but I do want to make another one that is more his size, just because the other one has a folded brim, and it kind of, since it's larger, it kind of gets down over his head or his eyes. Yeah, so I'm going to make another one for him. And then I don't have it written down just because I'm not sure yet, but since I have finished 2 pairs of socks and I only have 2 pairs left, I have kind of pre-packaged some sock whips that I plan on working on. So I will show those. And these will just both be for me, most likely. And then in the first one, I have an old Yarnable from maybe like 2 years ago, I think. But it's just so pretty, and it looks like autumn with the oranges, the grays, and kind of like the darker colors. And it is called Life is Gouda. So I guess it's like a charcuterie inspired one. And then I have some leftover stash yarn. That'll be some contrast. This will probably be heel toe or just toe and cuff. I don't know yet. But I have those, and then I'm going to work them on magic loop, so I have my needles already in the bag. And I think this is just an old, yeah, this was the free bag you got with a kit last year in the Stephen West MCal. I ended up not making the shawl just because it ended up not being for me. I saw the finished one before I was done with like hardly any of the clues, and I just like, you know what, I'm not gonna wear that. And so I just ripped it out and used the yarn for other stuff. Actually, the yarn that is in my Scotch broom, that was part of the kit that I got, and so it is getting used. So, but it's a great bag. And then the other yarn I have, or I guess sock whip that I have prepped, this is in a bag by Crafting Euphoria. My friend Katrina, she made this for me during summer sock camp 2 years ago, I want to say. But I will, she's on Instagram. I'm pretty sure she has an Etsy shop. If I I don't know. I'll link it below if she does. But in here, I have some yarn from Purple Lamb. And this was like they have like an insect or some type of butterfly collection. I got this at Fiberfest last year. And this is Monarch Butterfly on their stained glass sock base. Butterfly collection, that's what it was. So it was like different species of butterflies all dyed up, and monarchs are my favorite. And then I got a mini skein to go with it, and I think it is just called Little Black Dress. And this is a 20 gram mini. So this will probably be a toe and heel, and then the rest of the sock. And then I also plan on working that one on Magic Loop, so I have my needles there. And I'll probably work both of these toe up, just because I've been working a lot of socks cuff down, so I just would like a little bit of change of pace. Typically when I work cuff down, I'll do a heel flap and gusset, and if I work toe up, then I'll do a fish lips kiss heel. So it just depends on what kind of heel and what kind of method I'm in the mood for. But yeah, most of the time I'm working Magic Loop, and then just depending on what type of heel that I want, or if I'm following a specific pattern, that's if I'll work toe up or cuff down. Okay, so that's everything in the cast on category of what I have planned to cast on or to potentially cast on. Really, the two beanies are for sure I want to cast on this month. Those socks, since they're not for anyone in particular and just most likely going to go into my sock drawer, those will just be as I finish projects, I'll find something new to cast on. So I have those prepped. Those are going to be the ones I for sure, I know that yarn combo I want to cast on and work with. Okay. So some goals that I have. I just have this written down in my little yarn journal for the month. Some of the goals that I have is I want to finish that Scotch broom so badly. I'm just, not that I don't enjoy it. I very much enjoy that pattern, especially learning the broomstick lace. I love it, but I'm ready to be done with it. I do have a couple sweater quantities of yarn that I want to start next, especially since it is getting colder. But yeah, I want to have that done mostly because I planned to have it done back in September and it just wasn't. So now I'm like, oh, I'm still not done with it, which is fine. Like, I'm the only person putting these deadlines on myself now at this point. Yeah. So I want to finish the Scotch broom. I want to finish that, the yellow Musselburgh for my knit group Make Along. That needs to be finished by the end of this month. And I have a Afghan class that I'm taking at McKinney Knittery. Each month we do one square and then we seam it together at the end. And that next class is later this month, and so I need to finish my square from October. I need to finish that in a few weeks. And then I want to finish those 9-inch circular socks because those are a gift. Once I get past the heel, it should be pretty easy to finish. So I want to finish those by the end of this month as well. And then as I finish my projects, I'll just write them down here under finished objects and cross them off my WIP list. Okay. Okay. So next, I want to talk about a couple of things, kind of do like a weekend recap and some things I purchased last weekend. So last weekend, me and my friends from my knit group that I co-host, we went to Juju Knits. They had their 4th birthday celebration. So they're a local yarn store in Fort Worth. So we made the drive over there to go hang out for the day. They had a couple trunk shows, and we just wanted to shop around, hang out with other fiber friends that we met at Fiberfest this year, and they're really awesome. The Juju crew is super sweet. So if you're in the Texas area, or in the North Texas area, if you're in Texas and can make the drive to Fort Worth, I highly recommend. It's such a cute shop, and everyone is super nice there. So I made 3 purchases while I was there. Here, I'll show this one first because it's right here. The first one is this, it's 15 gram mini by Bah Yarn, which is B-A-A-H. And it's just so pretty with like the purples and reds and a little bit of orange in there. So this is gonna go in my DK jelly blanket. Yeah. Oh, and the colorway is La Holla Babies. I'm assuming that's La Holla like in California, but it's a one of a kind. So I'm excited about that. And then also related to the DK jelly blanket, so that is pretty small right now. It can be contained in my yarn bowl, but it's gonna grow because you start with a strip and you keep adding on to make it more wide. And so it's gonna get pretty big because I'm not sure exactly how big I want it yet. I definitely want to be able to like fully cover my body and be cozy on the couch with it. Yeah, so it's gonna get a pretty decent size. So I got a bag from By the Bay Bag Co. because they were there on a for a trunk show. And it's a huge canvas bag. I'm pretty sure this size was called El Grande. So I picked this up, and it has pockets on the outside and pockets on, it's a little hard to show, but it has pockets on the inside as well. So this is going to be super great once the blanket does begin to grow, and it has these nice handles and a drawstring so you can cinch that shut. And then yellow is my favorite color, so I had to get the yellow color, and it matches my little project bag with my 9-inch circulars. Actually, I think they're like the same exact color. Yeah, it's like mom and baby. That's funny. I didn't even realize they matched exactly. So that was my purchases. No, I have one more thing. So I had pre-ordered this through Juju Knits because each week last month they were having a sale. So certain items were a certain percentage off or just discounted in honor of their 4th birthday celebration. And so I ordered this and just picked it up whenever we went. And it is the Coco Knits Maker's Board. Can you see? Oh, at the bottom. Coco Knits. And so I'm super excited about this, but essentially it is a board. I got the tan brown color. Sorry, the sun is like coming in through my window. And so you can see like the little, yeah, you can see the little lights from the blinds. Okay, so, oh, there's a pattern in here. Let me take this out. Don't want to show that. But essentially it is, think of like an iPad stand to where you can prop it up, but it's magnetic. So you put your pattern on here and you can hold it up with magnets. There's magnet, the whole thing is metal in here and on the bottom. So this came with the board and like a handful of magnets. I purchased separately the needle gauge and ruler. So this was separate, that was not included. And you can throw on your stitch markers on here to have them magnetized and just kind of have all your tools handy here for your project. So that'll come, that'll be super handy. So I had a pattern, I had a pattern in there already that I'm working with, and it just folds up so nicely like a folder. And then I'm just gonna keep it in the bag because I'm moving a lot of my stuff around right now. So yeah, that was all my purchases from this past weekend. It was super fun. After we went to Juju Knits, we shopped around for a little bit. They had like pastries and refreshments and stuff. There was a couple trunk shows there, and everyone was just sitting and stitching, and it was super great. After that, we went to lunch at Velvet Taco. I'd never been there before, and it was pretty good. I always love a good taco, and their queso was delicious. They had it drizzled with like a couple different sauces, and I don't know what they were, but mixed together, it was so good. And they had the blue corn tortilla chips. So I recommend Velvet Taco. That's pretty much all I did this weekend, and just sat around and knit, just because the cold weather was rolling in. It was very chilly this week, and we had a freeze warning for a couple of days, like maybe 24 hours, maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, so it was just hanging out with my husband and son. Let's see what else. Yeah, okay. Kind of going into some little personal life segments. I like the way a lot of other podcasters will say like what they're reading, what they're watching. So what am I reading? I used to be a really avid reader, and this was before I started knitting, so that's probably why I had so much time to read so many books. So I used to read a lot, and like a couple books a month. And I'm just not at that same pace, especially since I knit now. So I'm trying to find a good balance again of reading and knitting, because I do very much miss reading. I haven't read as much as I would like to have this year. Yeah, but anyways, currently reading, I am making my way through The Green Mile. I am currently halfway through. I've only seen bits and pieces of the movie. I've never read the book, so definitely experiencing it all in full for the first time. It's okay. It's not my favorite. I am a Stephen King fan. I love all his work. But this one just hasn't been my favorite, and part of that could be because I'm not picking it up consistently. So that could be part of it. But yeah, I'm trying to read before bed now each night. I am on Goodreads if you'd like to follow me on there, and I have books. Typically I am kind of a suspense thriller type of book that I like to read. I do appreciate a good autobiography. Yeah, so that's kind of it for books. What else? What am I watching? Oh, I'm watching Big Bang Theory for the first time all the way through with my husband. He's seen it all the way through before. Oops, I'm dropping stuff. He has seen it all the way through before. I've seen episodes here and there. We just got done watching Modern Family for the first time all the way through. I highly recommend it. It's so funny and it's so good. I cried at the finale. Yeah, so great. But now we're making our way through Big Bang Theory, and by myself, I am watching How to Get Away with Murder. That show is super, super old. I think it might have stopped right before the pandemic or during the pandemic. I can't remember, like in 2020, whenever it first hit. I don't remember, but I want to say I'm in season 4, maybe. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm watching just on my own whenever I can. And I think that's pretty much it. I will end this episode with something I do like. I heard it in a podcast like many, many years ago, and I can't even remember what the name of the podcast was. But and I used to do this on Twitter, and it's just saying my 3 simple joys. So what are my 3 simple joys this week? And these are in no particular order. And it's just things that have been bringing me joy and things that I look forward to. So the first one is waffles. I love breakfast. It's like my favorite meal of the day. I'll eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, I don't care. I love breakfast foods. And the other morning, I was really craving a waffle. Like, I wanted waffles, but I feel like that's always a hassle. I don't always like bringing out the waffle maker, and then you have so much, and not everyone eats waffles. Josh doesn't really like waffles, I don't think. So I just wanted one waffle, and I found a recipe on Pinterest for a single serving waffle. And so I was like, I need to make this. I'll try it out. And I did. I tried the recipe, and it is so good. And I modified it to be gluten-free because I'm gluten-free. And yeah, it was delicious. I'll put the recipe down below. I've been making a waffle like every day. And it's so good because it's just a single serving. So it's just enough for me. So that's been my breakfast quite frequently this past week. Simple joy number 2 is my desk. So I work from home, and previously in this room, this is like our guest room, catch-all room, junk room, hence the mess back there. I'm still trying to clean that up. But we used to have our old dining table in here, and it was like a bar height dining table. And so it wasn't the most comfortable to work at. But once I started working from home full time, I got a actual desk, and I love it. I'm still organizing it and figuring out like how all my monitors and like all that stuff, how I want it laid out. So I'm still trying to work with that, but I love it so much. It's like my dedicated space that I can have for myself to work. And then simple joy number 3 is Coke Zero. I am typically a Dr. Pepper person. Like, I love Dr. Pepper. That is my soda of choice. We don't really buy sodas and keep them at home too often, so usually it's only when I'm out. But I was getting my nails done a couple of weeks ago, and I had a Coke Zero. Like, you know, they ask you if you'd like anything to drink, and it was so random. I've never had a Coke Zero before, and then I had it, and it was so good. I was like, this is so refreshing and nice. So Coke Zero has been bringing me joy. Yeah. So I would say those are my 3 simple joys right now. So I'd love to know what your simple joys are. What's bringing you joy? Is it your morning coffee? Is it your lunchtime? I can't say W-A-L-K. Where is she? Yeah, I can't say it. Is it your lunchtime W-A-L-K around the neighborhood? I would just love to know what's bringing you joy this week. And maybe that's a knitting project, maybe crochet, whatever it is. Maybe it's the new yarn you bought. I would love to know what is bringing you joy. So comment down below. I hope you will like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm keeping it pretty consistent. So I think Thursdays are going to be my upload days. Since I am recording the second half of this on Thursday, it'll probably just go up later this evening. I'm hoping I can find some time after work today to edit this and get it all uploaded. So we'll see. But that's ideally my goal. But until then, I hope you come back. But until then, stay caffeinated.